Hey, welcome back to How to Barbecue Right. Today I'm talking jerky. I've been getting several questions over how to do some smoked jerky out on your grill outside or on your smoker, and I wanted to talk about some ways that I do it. What I've got today is a couple different cuts of meat. First, I've got some venison out here. It's just some white-tailed deer, local here in Mississippi. You know, when I'm not out barbecuing in the winter months, I'm usually out chasing deer. And I love to use, all the animals we take, and jerky is an excellent way to use that venison. And this is a hind quarter that I've, kind of muscled out. I left some of the muscles here cleaned up. And I've got some trimmed. I'm going to show you how we trim it here in a little bit. In addition to the venison, I also like to use beef for jerky, and I like to look for the lean cuts, like this eye of the round I have here. And what I do is I'll catch them on sale at my supermarket, put them in the freezer. I don't have to be making the jerky right then, but when I do get ready to make it 3 or 4 times a year, I can take them out, thaw it out, and it makes excellent jerky. You just want to use the lean meat, like your London broils, your eye of the rounds, just sirloin tips. All those lean cuts of meat make great jerky. So today I want to share with you 3 different recipes, because I know there's all kinds of ways out there that people do jerky, and I've got a few that I really like with some flavors that go great with venison and with beef. So the first recipe that we're going to do is going to be like a traditional jerky, like if you buy in a kit. And I've got a great seasoning here, Legg's. That company makes just a jerky seasoning that's great, and you use the pink curing salt with it. And this is going to be a jerky that'll keep. You can get it out there on the smoker, dry it out, get some great flavor going, and it's going to last a long time. Now, I also like to make jerkies where I don't use the pink salt, where I'm using soy sauce or salts or sugars to preserve it some, but it doesn't have the shelf life. And for the other 2 recipes, I'm going to do a kind of an Asian inspired. It's going to have some ginger, some garlic, some cilantro in it. And then I'm going to do a Sriracha jerky recipe. You're going to love these. But first we got to cut the rest of this meat up, and I want to show you how I cut it into jerky strips. So what I found whenever I'm cutting jerky, it helps to catch it when the meat's thawed, but it still has a little bit of frozen texture to it. It makes getting thin slices easier. So I took this eye of the round roast out and kind of let it slow thaw in the refrigerator, and I kind of felt on it when I thought it was still firm enough to cut into jerky, and then that's where it's at now. You always want to clean it up a little, if there's a lot of sinew on it or fat, and I've got most of it off here. A little's not going to hurt. But what our goal is to cut across the grain into thin strips, because you don't want jerky too thick. So you just use a sharp bladed knife and catch it thin across the grain. And I'm just going to work my way down this roast, keeping it thin. The semi-firm texture with it still a little froze really helps. Makes it easy to roll right through this. Now, of course, I probably don't want long slices or big wide slices on my jerky. You can leave them like that if you like them, it's okay. But a lot of times I'll come in if they're real wide and just cut them into strips. So now I've got, smaller pieces, but I'll cut some of them into thin strips, and I may leave some of them into big pieces. Some people like them like that. As I finish up the beef here, I want to show you how I'm going to also do the venison. Now I've just got some of the same thing. I've took these, a ham or a hind quarter of the deer, and I've separated it out in muscles and cleaned off all the sinew I can. I see I missed a little bit here. I'll go ahead and get that out of the way. But I just kind of want to stay across the grain. Same way. Now this is thawed a lot more than I'd like. It still helps if it's kind of on a little bit froze too. But if you use a sharp knife, you can still make pretty thin slices. But if you keep it across the grain, your jerky will be a little more tender, not as difficult to chew. And I just keep it in strips, kind of the same way we did the beef, and you'll notice it's a lot richer, darker red color. That's just the texture of venison. All right, I'm about to wrap up the last of the deer here. So then we're going to be ready to talk about these 3 flavors of jerky that we're going to do today. All right, so we've got the jerky cut up, and I went ahead and portioned it out in bags for these different flavors that I'm going to make. And I just used, a gallon freezer bag. we want to get a good marinade on this. Everything I'm making is going to sit for at least 12 hours overnight in the refrigerator. First, we're going to start off with just the original jerky seasoning, this Legg's pack that I bought, and I picked up the pink salt at Academy that goes with it. But when you're dealing with these packs or the pink salt, this is where weights become critical. You know, it always has the directions on how many pounds of meat that each pack will do. So just do the math. For this one, I had 8 pounds of beef, so I split it 4 pounds and 4 pounds. And it's gonna be about 2 ounces, a quarter cup of seasoning to 2 cups of water, and then about 3/4 of a teaspoon of the pink salt for 4 pounds. So you're gonna have to just kind of pay attention when you order, or you know, whatever seasoning you pick up, if it's a pre-mix, how much curing salt, how much seasoning to how much meat. It's not hard, just do a little bit of math and you got it. But all you do is, you know, you take some water, you're gonna add the seasoning straight to the water. This is gonna kind of make that marinade, and go ahead and put the pink salt in as well. And then I just use a fork or a whisk, mix it all up. But we're just gonna pour it right over our jerky. You wanna get all the air out of the bag. Make sure we get some good coverage, work it around a little. This ready for the fridge. And I'm doing the same thing here for one batch of the venison. I only have about 3 pounds of it, so I had to cut my ratio down a little bit. Wasn't quite as much seasoning or curing salt, only about 1.5 cups of water. Pour it in. Get the air out. Work it around, make sure you get it all happy. Okay, so we've got the easy jerky recipes out of the way. I mean, anybody can follow directions on those pre-packaged things. Turns out some great jerky, nothing wrong with using those, but I like to get a little creative with mine, and that's why we're gonna do these 2 different types now, the Asian inspired and kind of the Sriracha. 2 of my favorite flavors. I mean, Sriracha sauce is awesome on just about everything. And this Asian recipe that I use for jerky, I kind of took it from my Korean spare ribs video that I did out on the grill. Some great flavors, and it makes a good marinade for beef, and it goes great on it if you're grilling it, but it makes excellent jerky. So that's what we're gonna do today. So I'm just starting with some soy sauce. Then I'm gonna add about 1/4 cup of honey for some sweetness to that soy sauce. And we're not using the pink salt in this recipe, so it's not shelf stable for a real long time. It'll last a week or so, and it'll last even longer if you keep it in the refrigerator, but it's not gonna last as long as that when we use the nitrates with the pink salt. But you know, a lot of people don't like using some of that stuff, and you know, this might be a recipe, a different way for you to make like kind of a natural jerky. Now we're gonna add some sesame oil, a tablespoon. I've got about 4 cloves of fresh garlic going in. And a couple teaspoons of this fresh ginger, some chili paste, so give it a little bit of heat. A couple pinches crushed red pepper. Last but not least, some fresh cilantro. So we're just gonna get these flavors mixed up here and pour it over our beef. Then we're gonna get it in the fridge and let it hang out overnight. We just want these flavors to work on that meat, really absorb into it, and it's going to be great when we put it out on the smoker. Get a little bit of hickory wood going, dry it out. And it doesn't hurt throughout the night to come in, give it a toss, move all your bags around just to make sure you're agitating it a little. Okay, last but not least, we've got my favorite recipe for jerky, and this is that Sriracha brown sugar marinade that I'm going to show you. I'm going to start with some Worcestershire sauce, about 1 cup. Then I've got 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Then we're going to add some Sriracha. And you know, at this point, you can get this as hot or as mild as you want it. If you don't like the Sriracha sauce, go ahead and use a hot sauce there. But I like it, and so I'm going to use about 1/2 cup. That's going to add plenty of heat, plenty of great flavor. It's going to taste really good. Now I'm also want to get a few seasonings in here. I'm going to use a couple good pinches of red pepper. I'm going to use a little bit of granulated garlic. I'm going to give it another good pinch or 2 of salt, and then some finely ground black pepper. That's all it needs. I mean, this is a simple marinade. but the Sriracha flavors and the brown sugar adds a little sweetness. You get a little bit of that heat, a little bit of that vinegar taste. It's excellent on jerky. Now we just get this marinade poured over our deer meat. Do the same, we're gonna seal it up, work it in. And tomorrow, we'll be ready to show you how we're gonna dry this out outside on our smoker. Now for you dehydrator guys, you can do this same recipe on your dehydrators, but we're gonna take it a step further and put some smoke on this jerky. It's gonna be excellent. Y'all stick around, come back tomorrow, show you how we're gonna do it. Okay, it's the next day here in our jerky making process, and I let this jerky marinate overnight. It's been about 12 hours, and I went ahead and got it out of the marinade. And we've got our 3 different types of jerky. I've got my venison, the beef. Both of these are the original seasoning that just like, it's a packet. It's that Legg's jerky seasoning with the pink curing salt. And down here we've got our beef that we did Asian style. And then we've got that Sriracha marinade going on our last little bit of venison here. And you can see I've kind of got me some racks laid out here. Now these are my pork racks that I use for competition doing butts and shoulders, but they make great jerky racks for transporting the jerky to the grill and just moving it around. It's a lot easier. So if you get you some kind of rack like this, it's gonna make your jerky life easier when you're loading it up, loading your cooker, or however you're doing it. Today we're just gonna get it spread out, and I always put something down on my table when I'm doing it because I want the jerky to sit here a little bit while I get the grill coming up to temp. Let some of that moisture drip off of it. These racks also help with that because it's still, even if I kind of took it out of the bag, got it out of the marinade the best I could, but it's gonna have a lot of moisture, and the jerky process is all about getting that moisture off of it. So let's start putting it on the racks. I'm just gonna start on the right here. There's no really right or wrong way to position it. You just want to spread it out. So we've got our jerky on the racks, and you'll notice that you just want to spread it out. You don't want anything overlapping because we want air to get around it. We want the smoke to get around it. Don't just pile it on your racks when you're getting ready to put it out on the smoker. I've got all 4 types on my racks. I've got a few more that I'm going to have to knock out because I have plenty left over. So I've got 3 or 4 more racks I'm going to go ahead and build. Then we're going to go outside, get the smoker fired up. We're gonna hold it kind of low today. I want them in the 140 to 150 range with some good hickory smoke rolling. That's what we're looking for. We're not trying to cook this jerky. It's more of about keeping it in that cooler environment with the smoke coming around and the air moving. That's really what's gonna dry it out. It's gonna preserve that flavor that we've marinated in all night. It's gonna be excellent. So let me get to work. We'll be right outside in just a second. We'll show you how we get this jerky on the smoker. All right, we're out here at our pit, and I want to tell you a little bit what I'm going to be doing this jerky on today. I'm back cooking on my old Hickory Ace MM. Now, jerky is one of those things, you can make it a dehydrator. I've seen it done in the oven. It's great outside on the smoker because you get that other element of getting to put some wood, some good smoke flavor on it. And doesn't matter what kind of pit you're cooking on, you can do that, but this old Hickory Ace is excellent at it because I can control the temps low. And if you'll see here, I gave it about 45 minutes to come up to temp, and I didn't use much charcoal, but I'm holding it 140 degrees. I've got it dialed in. I started out with about 2 handfuls of charcoal briquettes in the firebox, and then I just added a couple of these chunks of hickory wood that I actually got from Old Hickory, and they're great because they don't have any bark on them. It's just a good seasoned, ready to smoke piece of hickory wood, and it's perfect for jerky. You can see I've got the vents on top just barely cracked, and I'm letting out some of that good hickory smoke. So the cooker's ready now. The great thing about that old hickory with the internal convection is it's pushing that smoke around and that little bit of heat we got going, but it's also moving air a lot like a dehydrator does. You get that convection effect from the upper fan in the cook chamber, and that's what makes this pit an excellent jerky smoker. We'll go inside, grab the jerky, bring it back out, and we'll show you how we're going to load it up on our old hickory today. All right, here's the last rack of jerky going in, and having them on these pork racks makes that process so much easier. You can see I've got a pretty good load on here. I'm using every rack, and I've just kind of got it spread out. We're going to get some good airflow. So now I just want to get it closed up. I want to get the airflow going. I want to get that fan circulating there. Get this smoke that's coming up all around that jerky. It's going to make it Excellent. So the next step in this process is pretty much just maintaining your fire. We're gonna just sit back, hold it at 140. You know, if it creeps up to 150, 100, that's okay. I wouldn't be scared if it went as high as 200, but I'm not trying to really cook this jerky. I want to keep it down in that low, that cool smoke range. Let the convection fan do its thing. Let the smoke really penetrate that meat. That's what's going to dry it out. Little light heat, but it's going to take, you know, several hours. We're looking probably 4 to 6 hours, somewhere in there. But I'll come back in here in a little bit and we'll check on it. Show you how we're going to feel. We want the jerky to, you know, to start to be dry. I don't like mine totally like a brick where I can take it and break it. I like it to have some texture, but I do want the moisture gone. That's what's going to preserve that jerky and make it awesome. All right, I'm back at the old Hickory. We've been smoking here for about 2.5 hours on our jerky. And I just want to keep maintaining my temp, so I want to add just a little bit more coal. You can see I got some pretty good ash bed going, but I don't have a whole lot in here. My wood's kind of burnt down, so I'm going to add another chunk of hickory. Put another handful or so of coals on it. That's about enough to keep it going. We're gonna get it closed back up. Got a block I'm gonna put in here, so it'll do a little smoking. We don't wanna lose our heat, so I'm gonna get it shut back up. But I just wanted to show you, we're not dealing with a whole lot of fire to maintain this low temp. You know, we started out at 140 degrees. I'm gonna let it creep up to about 160, and we're just gonna hold it there. Keep the same little smoke going. It's all the heat we need to get this jerky just right. All right, we're still working on our jerky. I've been smoking it for about 5 hours, and I went out and checked, and I've got some of it that's already got as dry as I want it to. So this is the Asian flavored jerky, and you know, when I start seeing that the moisture's gone, there's no more coming to the surface, I want to catch it when it's still, you know, has some texture to it. I don't want it to be hard as a rock. It's got a real great color. It's got that darkness from the soy sauce and from the other sesame oil and the things that we put in there to really bring those Asian flavors out. And then in the Sriracha one, you can kind of see it has a reddish hue. And I've caught these, they're still have a little texture to them too, where they're not just rock hard. They're still, you can bite them and chew them. That's how I want to catch it. So the big thing when you're doing jerky is there's no set time when it's going to be done. You have to look at it every so often, and some of the trays, depending on your smoker, are going to come off before the others. I've still got, you know, 4 or 5 more trays out there. I'm just going to keep watching them. When it's all done, I'll bring it in and show you how we're going to bag it up to keep it. But got a few more hours to go. We're going to get that rest of it dehydrated or smoked out there on that old Hickory. We'll show you how we finish this just here in a little while. All right, it's been 8 hours total, and all the jerky is finally done. It always, you know, takes a little bit longer for some of the spots in the cooker. I don't care what kind of cooker you're cooking on. Just the difference in sizes, the amount of moisture in the meat. There's no set time that it's going to take, but all of this has finally got the consistency that I wanted. I wanted to, you know, to be dry, to have all that moisture slowly air brought out of it with the smoke and the little bit of heat that we had in the old Hickory. What I do now is I bring it inside, just let it sit out on the table and hang out. Let it lose what heat it had before you bag it up. If you don't, it's going to build up steam in the bag. Now what I typically like to do is just use Ziploc bags, and that's how I store it. The original jerky from the Legg's jerky season in the pink salt cure is shelf stable. You don't have to worry about refrigerating it. It's going to last a long time. It's kind of a more traditional style jerky that you could take camping with you and you don't have to worry about it. Now the other 2 flavors that we did, you're gonna have to eat them pretty quick. I mean, they'll last a week or so out, or just keep them in the refrigerator if you want to keep them for long periods of time. They have all been to about 160 degrees internal, so it's plenty of heat on jerky to worry about it being safe, especially with the amount of seasonings and the salt and the liquids that was in our marinade. So it's all preserved really well, and it tastes awesome. I'm gonna, you know, I want to show you what some of it's like. Show you that it's still tender, even though it's dry. And this is one of the original beef that we did. I just want to. It's got a nice chew. The jerky flavor really comes through with it. But the best thing that I like about it is you get that hickory smoke flavor that you just can't get from a dehydrator or doing it in your oven. That's what good beef jerky should taste like. So I'm just going to get this jerky bagged up real quick in the different flavors. And what I'll do is take a Sharpie, a permanent marker, and write on the bag so I know what I have. And that's all there is to it. One tip that I can give you when you're doing jerky on racks is before you start putting your meat out, go ahead and give it a quick spray with some cooking spray, and you'll notice that mine didn't stick real bad. You're always gonna get some stick, but it'll come off a lot easier if you'll spray those racks before you start putting your meat on it. All right, so we've got all our jerky bagged up, and we've got 4 different great flavors of jerky with the beef and the deer and the 3 marinades that we used. Let's talk about what we did. First, we started with some real lean cuts of meat. I had some venison hindquarter, the ham, that I roasted out, took the muscled it out, got all the sinew off of it, made sure it cut it against the grain. And I also took some beef that I had, and I caught those eye of the rounds on sale at my grocery store. I put them in the freezer when I knew I was going to make jerky. We did the same approach. We thawed them out, left them a little bit froze so they're easier to slice, and then we sliced them real thin. And that's the style of jerky that I like to do. Well, our 3 flavors, I went with an original that was just a store-bought mix, that Legg's brand jerky seasoning with a little bit of the pink salt. You got to really watch the ratios on those seasonings for the pink salt and for the jerky seasoning. Just go by the package directions. You can't go wrong with it. If you like to soup it up a little, add a little bit of seasoning on the back end. Now for the Asian style sauce, I kind of pulled from my marinade that I use for beef, Korean style beef short ribs. I wanted that ginger, that cilantro, the garlic, the soy sauce, a little bit of sweetener with that honey that we put in it. And that's really my favorite way. It's just a unique flavor of jerky. And then last but not least, we did a Sriracha with some Worcestershire and then some garlic, salt, pepper, and red pepper, and a little bit of brown sugar to sweeten that one up. It's 3 great styles of jerky. The recipes are going to be in the description for them so you can get all the quantities. If you want to do jerky this way, I suggest fire that smoker up. Get some smoke on it. The dehydrator, the oven, is great. You can do jerky that way, but you'll like it so much more by getting it out on your smoker. Just want to give yourself some time. Hold those temps low. We started out at 140 degrees. Towards the end of the cook, it crept up to about 160, and that's okay because that's our goal where we're taking that meat to. You just want to make sure your moisture's out of it, feel of it along the way, and get it off and let it sit and dry out, and then bag it up and enjoy. That's the best part. I'm going to get into this bag of the Asian style jerky here in a little bit, but thank y'all for checking out the video today here at How to Barbecue Right. If you like what we're doing, subscribe to our channel and find us on Facebook and Twitter. Keep watching the videos. We're going to put them out all year long. We'll see you next time.